Good morning, students, and happy Monday. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. So, here for page 42, what we're doing at the start of this week is just reviewing all of our fraction operations. That means all of the fractions that we have learned in the past couple of weeks, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, finding out the answers to mixed numeral operations, changing mixed numbers to improper fractions and back. So here, what I recommend is to go back to the first fraction video on YouTube so that you can remember what the rules are for adding fractions and then go from there, because you're going to have all kinds. There's a few addition here, there's adding mixed numerals here, then we go to subtraction, then multiplication, and then finally division. But as you know, these all have some extra rules or some different kinds of rules depending on the operation. So go back through the YouTube videos where I go over the step-by-step for how to do these, and we can of course review them, but this will be a quiz grade. So even though it's open book, you can go to the videos, you're actually going to get a bigger grade for this, because this is reviewing everything before we start tomorrow with our new chapter on decimals. And here we have our language arts assignment for Monday. We are continuing with our pronoun study. So here we are practicing with pronouns, and we will have 2 pages today since they're on the same topic, and you will know exactly what to do for the next page once we complete our instructions here. So what we're doing today is we're circling the pronouns in our sentences, but we're also identifying mistakes, identifying errors. So what you're going to be doing for numbers 1 through 12 is you're going to find and circle all of the pronouns in these sentences. And remember, if you don't recognize all of the pronouns, we have them all over our book in this chapter, especially on page 66 and 67. These are all different kinds of pronouns, so all of these count. After you circle all of your pronouns, you're going to find the 4 sentences that contain an error or a mistake. And then you're going to write the sentences correctly on notebook paper. So my advice is to read these out loud. See if any of them aren't making sense. If you find a mistake, write the sentence correctly on an extra piece of paper. There are 4. Here on the bottom for remember B, we're going back, and we're going to be going over just a little on our different kinds of sentences: declarative, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory. And all you're going to do is just place the correct punctuation depending on what kind of sentence it is, and then writing the abbreviation. And just remember, declarative sentences make a statement, imperative sentences make a request or a command, exclamatory sentences are going to be an exclamation, like a shout or something that's meant to be exclaimed loudly, and interrogative are going to be questions. So this is just a little quick review on our sentence structures and our different kinds of sentences. So when we go to page 73, which is on Monday's assignment, it's just going on with the same subject of pronouns and identifying pronouns. And because it's easy enough, I added this additional page. So it says here on ThinkSeek to complete this chart from memory if you can. That means you're going to read these pronouns and then decide the objective form, possessive form, and compound form by memory. But it says if you can. If you can't remember, don't worry. Go back to page 66 and here on 67 and it will tell you the different forms. Here are the subjective, here are the objective, here are the possessive. So for our first one, it says I. So we see here the subjective form of I, the objective form of I is me, the possessive form is my, mine. And you have pretty much all of those. We have you, he, she, it, we, and they. So just go back if you need to. If you can remember them, that's awesome. And don't forget to go to your compound pronoun section if you need to as well. Remember, we have them over here on page 70. So if you need help, go back to page 67 and page 70. You will have all of your answers there if you don't quite remember all of the different forms. Then here on Think D, it says, if necessary, so if needed, change the form of the pronoun in the parentheses to make it fit. There will be some sentences in which the pronoun does not need to be changed. So here, as an example, it says, everyone sent blank a birthday card with the parentheses pronoun he. So let's try he and see if it makes sense. If not, we might need to change it. Everyone sent he a birthday card. That doesn't sound right. Let's change that pronoun. It might need to be a possessive pronoun. Everyone sent him a birthday card would make much more sense. So as usual, I recommend you read them out loud, see if they make sense, see if you do need to change the pronoun. Sometimes you may not, but remember, you can go back to page 67 if needed, but I think if you read them out loud, you will figure out which word does make sense in the blank. And then here, you're just crossing out the incorrect pronoun in parentheses. So it gives you two options. You're going to cross out the wrong one. The pastor gave she wise counsel. The pastor gave her wise counsel. So I think we can both agree her is the correct one, so we would cross out she. And here for our spelling list for this week, we're starting here Monday on page 53 with our new words, and we have homophones again. And remember that homophones are words that sound the same but have different meanings and spellings. So I'm going to go over our pattern words, then our content, and then our vocabulary. But you will notice that the activities for list 14 here are very, very similar to the activities on list 13. So here for our pattern words, we have tide, tide, ring, ring, peer, peer, herd, herd, ceiling, ceiling, patience, patience. So notice how these word pairs sound exactly the same, but they do have different meanings. So I suggest that you actually look up and define these words sooner rather than later. You have an assignment to look up these words on Friday, but if it were my decision, I would look them up today, and that would make the rest of this week's assignments much easier. For our content words, this is how we say them: salinity, intertidal, coastline, anemone, barnacles, organisms, fluctuation. And for our vocabulary words, we have attentive, intention, contraction, extraction. So just like last week, for your pattern words, you're going to divide them into one-syllable pairs and two-syllable pairs. That is quite easy. If it has a one syllable like tide, it would go in the one-syllable spots. If they have two, in the two. Pretty easy. Of course, your content words the same. Look them up in the back of the book as usual. Use your clues, but make sure you are reading your sentences to make perfectly sure that your word fits and makes sense.